Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for what I don't even need to be calling a therapy session anymore, because Chelsea have just won 3 games in a row and have just scored 4 goals in one and the same game. Now, okay, only 3 of those were scored by ourselves. Burnley did help in with a little own goal in there, but still 4 goals for us. I'm absolutely buzzing. Since I got this shirt, all wins. Things are great. Things are absolutely wonderful. I mean, obviously, you can say the international break is in a way at a bad time because it's kind of interrupting our momentum. But I like to take a positive spin on it. The international break was coming regardless, and I'm much happier going into it with 3 wins in a row than with constantly losing or drawing all the time. By the way, please excuse my flickering light in the background. I have no idea why it's doing that. It's kind of pissing me off, but I can't really do anything about it. So there you go. I might just have to turn it off, but we'll have to see about that. Pice will join us very soon as well, but we are already joined by my wonderful Danish friend, Bertram. Thank you for joining me, as always. It's been a long time. The first time we scored 4 goals or more since April 2022. The first time, in 19 times that we've gone 1-0 down and actually won, because the last 19 times that happened, we didn't win, which is a shocking stat, which thankfully we stopped now. And I'm just absolutely over the moon. Now, the first half was kind of dreadful, except for Raheem Sterling, but the second half was really good, and I'm pretty happy. What about you, mate?
Well, thank you for having me on as well. I'm over the moon. I think I remember last time or on a stream I was on again for the City game in January, when it was like a Wednesday night. We played at 9, and then we had the stream after, and I had a lesson at 8 in the morning, and I was thinking, this is so terrible. We're playing terrible. I can't wait to be on after another win, and now we're here, 3 wins in a row. Even though it did take, a terrible first half to get through, and our group chat was very negative around halftime. But thankfully, I think in a way, it's almost quite positive that we went behind, because I think it shows the team that, when we play Arsenal, when we come back, even though we will go behind probably, or if we do go behind, we have the ability to come back. So I'm over the moon. I'm very happy, and we're beginning to look like a proper team again. So thank you for having me on.
Exactly. We are beginning to look like a proper team again. And that's another very good positive spin on it that I do enjoy. Now, obviously, at the time, going 1-0 down was absolutely awful. And also the rest of the first half until that own goal was absolutely awful. But now in hindsight, obviously, after we won 4-1, I agree with you. Having gone a goal down, but having turned it around can only be positive for confidence when we go down in future games, which inevitably will happen. But maybe it won't necessarily mean we'll lose. So that's great. Pice, thank you for being back on. I appreciate it as always. I just said it to Bertram. 4 goals for the first time since April 2022. 3 wins in a row since God knows when for the first time that happened. The last 19 times we went 1-0 down in the Premier League, we didn't win. We now won 4-1. I mean, the only problem really was the Burnley were in the Championship last season, because otherwise we might have finished higher up the table, because Burnley away, this is where we score goals. So, brilliant at Burnley back. Hopefully they don't get relegated again, because we need another 4 goals next season. But Pice, buzzing 3 wins in a row. I mean, a month ago, I would have chopped not just your arm, I would have chopped all your limbs off for that.
Yeah, it was a good win in the end. I think, as you said, the game of 2 halves. It really was. I'm happy with the win. I did expect us to win though, so I'm not gassed, but I'm gassed we scored 4 goals. I just think, with the run we've got coming up after the international break, that's going to be like the real test for this team. But yeah, it's nice to get 3 wins in a row, and unfortunately, the international breaks kind of come at the wrong time almost. You want to probably keep this momentum up, but now we have to go for internationals. But Arsenal at home, they are one of the best teams of the league, but who knows what can happen in that game. And, results like this, when you actually score 4 goals, albeit one was an own goal and one was a penalty, it'll only help confidence. So I think that's what we can take from today. If anything, it's just confidence.
I agree with you, mate. The only thing I disagree with you is just because I expect to win doesn't mean I can't be buzzing about it. I am absolutely gassed no matter what game it is that we win, especially after the last 2 years or so that we've had. I'm not taking wins for granted, mate. I'm telling you, I'm gassed about every single one of them. But yeah, there you go. It's an interesting one, really, isn't it? Because, and I'm going to stick with you for a second with this, Pice. Me and Basham kind of touched on it already. The first half was really bad. I know, obviously, we got that goal back in the end, just before the break through that own goal. But the first half, even outside of the goal that we conceded, was so poor. And kind of just looked exactly like the first few games of the season after Liverpool, where we had all of the possession, but zero movement, zero intensity, zero idea of how to actually do something. And it just looked so slow, so lethargic. The only thing that slightly concerns me at the moment is as soon as we give the opponent the ball, we are much better, which, of course, in the grand scheme of things, not the worst thing, especially with that tough run of fixtures coming up. Maybe that's actually going to play into our hands. But in the long run, we need to also start to be a bit good when we have the ball, not just when we give the ball away and then try to counterattack. So that's still something to work on. But hey, in the meantime, if we win games, if we score 4 goals, I'm not going to complain too hard. But now in hindsight, Pies, looking at that first half, I don't know. It felt like it was an early kickoff and we were still asleep. I don't know about you, but that's what it felt like to me anyway.
Yeah, no, the first half wasn't great. A lot of aimless passing, in my opinion. Obviously, going a goal down is a real test of our mentality as well. And, we did get lucky with the own goal, but we were, attacking mainly through Sterling, who obviously was really good today. But we didn't really give up. It almost felt like, okay, we can definitely get back into this. It's Burnley. I felt like the players weren't really too fussed when they scored, which was nice to see. And yeah, I don't know. It's the weird one for me because we've scored 4 goals, but I don't actually feel like we've just absolutely dismantled someone. I still feel like it wasn't really a great performance from us, which is kind of weird. I felt like that couple we get last game as well, really. But yeah, I mean, it's
maybe
a good
your
result.
standards are just a bit high, mate. You need to realize where we've been for the last 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can say we played great football today. I feel like it was more individuals than anything. Which is I'm just a little bit worried about the run coming up, but it is good to score 4 goals. It's great to score 4 goals, but let's put the team in perspective a little bit. Burnley are pretty dreadful.
Yeah, and no matter when, we kind of always go away to Burnley and do pretty well, score a fair few goals. But at the same time, I'm like, well, you can only beat what's in front of you. It's not our fault that we would, picked against Burnley this season for this game. And like I say, for me, a lot of people are a little bit like you in that sense. They're like, oh, look at the fixtures coming up. I'm weirdly, okay, for Burnley, I was pretty confident that we'd win today. But I'm more confident that we're going to get results, maybe not necessarily against Arsenal, but from a lot of the other tough fixtures that we've got coming up than I was, for example, against Fulham. I don't know. I just feel like it's the way we are as a team at the moment, the way a lot of our players are, the way the players that seem to do something for us are, whether that's Jackson or Broja, it doesn't really matter. Both of them, one of their biggest strengths is pacing behind. You have Mudryk, you have Sterling. That suits, and having the passing range of Enzo, but also Caicedo and Colwell in the team, it actually suits us better to have a little bit less of the ball, to be a little bit under pressure and to hit on the break. Yeah, it suits us better anyway. So that's why I'm not particularly concerned. Now, I'm not going to say we're going to win every game, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as some people maybe fear. But there you go. I mean, Bacham, take it back to the first half with you as well. How do you explain the first half like that happening? We'll get into the lineup in a second, but did it also feel to you like we just, I don't know, it's just like we forgot to turn up for the first half an hour or 45 minutes, really? I don't know. It just felt weird to me. Everything was just so slow. Honestly, I tweeted it during the game and I was like, it felt like the team was playing, we won 2 games. Now we can chill a bit. I'm like, no, you need to not chill and fucking go for it, man.
Yeah, it did feel a bit like that. I just watched the goal back again as well. It was very quick. It was 1-2 passing from the Burnley players, from the goal kick. And then suddenly they were in behind. Thiago Silva didn't really follow his man. And suddenly they were through. But I still think, even though we look at the first half, we say it was very bad because we didn't create all those many chances. We limited them to that one opportunity and then the cross straight after. Otherwise, they don't really have any chances throughout the whole game. So even though we played a terrible first half, I think the standards have massively increased from last season, and where we were conceding chances regularly, especially towards the back end when our defense wasn't as good. So I think even though you look at how bad we were, I think a lot of it was down to, the kind of press or, the lack of press. I think once Jackson came on, it seemed like, the press became much better. Gallagher, grew into the game as well throughout his press. So it felt like they hadn't, it felt like it hadn't been, the team hadn't got the same presentation in a way, because suddenly then Broja was pressing, Palmer didn't follow up, Gallagher didn't follow up, and it kind of looked very disjointed. So I think bringing Jackson on really did make a difference, and very impressive from Sterling to get that in. Even though we say it was a lucky goal, it was building up to that point as well. Sterling did have some joy down that left wing. So I think I would put a lot of why the first half was bad more down to the fact that I think we were a bit lacking confidence, coming behind, even though we limited their chances, but the lack of press as well. I think even though Broja wasn't as bad, in my opinion, as I know a lot of you guys think, but I think it did help when Jackson came on because his pressing is that bit better. And, it comes down to the fact that he's played more games. So I think the lack of press and the one defensive issue, but otherwise I think it is what it is. A typical away day at Burnley when it is tough to break them down.
Interesting, very interesting. Obviously, the press was clearly better second half. I'm not 100% sure if I just want to put that down to Jackson being there instead of Broja. To me, the team looked like they got an absolute bollocking at halftime from Poch, and we're like, okay, we actually need to do something now. And that might have happened regardless of whether the Jackson Broja sub might have happened or not. Obviously, we will never know the true answer to that. But yeah, it was weird because it didn't even seem like we were bad at pressing in the first half. It seemed like we were very, like, almost intentionally often not pressing, and I don't really know why we chose to do that, because in the second half it changed and we won the ball high up the pitch so many times, and that's kind of what won us the game in the end. So whether it's the players not executing or whether it was the actual plan to not press as much in the first half, whichever one of the two it was bad. That's what we can say for sure. But let's get into the lineup that we turn up with, and I'll start with you, Pice. What were your thoughts when you saw the team? Obviously, a lot of us would have expected and hoped for Mihailo Mudryk to start, but then again, he obviously came off with a small injury, a slight tightness in his quadriceps last week. So I guess from that perspective, be a bit safer, put him on the bench if you have Sterling anyway. Obviously, I would have preferred Palmer as a 10, Sterling on the right, Mudryk on the left. But first of all, we won 4-1 anyway. And I'd also, with how many injuries we've had, I prefer the manager being a bit more safe than sorry than chucking him on and then he's injured for a month. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather it this way than the other way around, if that makes sense. And otherwise, it was obviously the same team anyway. So what did you think? Obviously, Sterling, I guess Sterling instead of Mudryk, and Broja, Jackson, those were kind of the main two that were up in the air. But what did you make of the team, bro?
Yeah, I mean, it was a slight surprise to see Broja. I didn't think he would play, in terms of start. I thought Jackson would start because obviously he'd been banned, and it doesn't seem like I don't think there's a clear number one at the moment. They're just kind of fighting out, which I think is good. Direct, healthy competition. I think that's what we need. That's what Jackson needs as well.
Maybe we just do this every game, one half for each. Do you know what I mean? It seems to work.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I think. Jackson will probably get the nod now after scoring against Arsenal, but it's good to see they've got some competition up there. The rest of the team wasn't really surprising. It was going to be that back four. It was going to be the midfield three still with Gallagher in there. I mean, the only surprise was obviously Mudryk not starting. Obviously, I didn't want to risk him some fitness issues, but turned out to be a great choice because, Sterling played really well, and I had him in my lineup, to be fair, Sterling, because I just thought, being left out of England again, coming back, seeing that Mudryk had played well, if he's motivated, then he's going to want to put a performance in. He did. So I'm really happy with him today, especially in the first half when it was so bad. He was the only one constantly being direct and, whipping a ball across the box or, taking someone on. Like, we really needed that because we just lacked any kind of urgency or spark in the first half, and it was just really boring. So yeah, we need players like that, especially with this running coming up now. We've got past these three teams, which is really good, and everything's positive right now. But these next run of games, this sort of next 10 games or 5 games, however many we've got, I think it's until mid start of December. I know we play Man United, so there's a month and a bit where we really, if we can get some results and actually stay semi-consistent, then we could have a good season. But
we've got Arsenal now, then Brentford, which obviously Brentford in terms of name isn't that big, but it's got to be.
They always turn up against the bigger teams, Brentford. I know they've lost today, but
we won't have Fergie time. Do you know what I mean? Like United today, flipping out. Then we got Blackburn in the cup, Spurs away, City, Newcastle away, Brighton in the league, United away. That is 6th
Spurs, City, Newcastle, Brighton, Man U. I mean that's the. That's a tough one, I mean that's the death right there, the death sort of fixtures.
And we'll probably, presuming we beat Blackburn, might there be another cup round in there? Could be, I'm not sure, because otherwise at least we have the whole week for each of these games. While Spurs, City, Newcastle, all 3 of them. Wait, where did Spurs finish last season? Are they in any of European competition?
No.
They're not. Okay. Well, so not Spurs then. But City and Newcastle at least, and Brighton with Europa League, and Man United, all these guys will have midweek games. We don't. So that should at least be a little bit of an advantage from that perspective. Bertram, your thoughts on the team? Kind of like I touched on Sterling for Mudryk and Broja instead of Jackson. Those kind of the only real surprises. What did you make of those two particularly, but also the team as a whole?
Very happy to see Broja start again. I thought he was very good against Fulham. Happy to see his fitness, Poch obviously trusted him to play, so happy to see that. Even we were all worried when he came off against Fulham that he would be injured again. I was sad not to see Mudryk playing, but I'm happy it was more precautionary rather than Poch, choosing to bench him. Yeah. I would say I'm not worried, but I would have liked to see a proper right winger come in today. I would have hoped in my mind for a proper 4-2-3-1 with maybe Palmer in the 10, and a Madueke or something. I think I can't really understand why we haven't seen him more. I think he was very good at the back end of last season, so it is worrying that we aren't seeing him more.
Also, that cup game against Wimbledon. Oh, I know it was a League 2 team, but he was by far the best player and kind of the only one that was even half decent in that game.
Exactly, and I think he does give us something as well. Attacking down both sides. Because I think Palmer wasn't that impressive in the first half. I think we didn't see the best out of him. I think against Fulham, he was kind of the link.
I think Palmer at right wing is absolutely fine when you have Reece James or even Gusto behind him. But because at the moment we have Cucurella at right back, when Palmer is on the wing, it kind of takes our attacking from that side, kind of takes the sting out of it a lot. So when you have Cucurella behind, out and out right winger would certainly be a big change. Do you know what I mean?
I think he could grow into it, and I think with throughout the second half we saw the fact that when he opens his body up with his left foot, he has the whole side of the pitch because he's so far out on the right. He has the whole left. He can play it back to Caicedo. When Reece comes on, hopefully soon, he can play it down the line or a through ball, which he tried to Jackson at some point. But I would have hoped to see a right winger at some point because I can see the comments here. They're saying Madueke has the discipline and stuff like that. I think he's still very raw, but very talented as well. And I hope we get to see him integrated into the side soon. But I was happy to see the midfield again. Enzo, Caicedo, Gallagher, they seem to complement each other very well. I would have hoped maybe we could have saved Gallagher in a sense because we expected to have more of the ball, maybe put Palmer centrally. But in the end, it worked out. I think Colwill at left back is beginning to it's growing a bit on me. I think when I watched the goals again, he was heavily involved in quite a lot of them because he passed it to Sterling, who then won penalties, scored, passed it through to own goals and stuff like that. So I think I was very happy with the line from Poch.
There you go. Fair enough. And let's get straight into these player ratings. Let's start it off with Sanchez. I don't think he can do anything about the goal, and otherwise he wasn't really challenged. Now, him and Caicedo had a near mishap at the very, very end in injury time, but thankfully didn't lead to nothing. And it one slightly weird save where it was kind of hit at him, but he didn't really do anything. He just let it hit him, and then he went out for a corner. But I'd probably just give him a 6 today. I don't think, because he didn't really have anything to do. Distribution wasn't bad. There was the one that he put out of play, but yeah, I think a 6 is probably fair. Like I say, I don't think he can do anything about the goal, but he didn't really have any other difficult saves to make. So a 6 from my end. Pice, would you agree with the 6 for Sanchez, or would you go with something different?
I mean, I didn't like the goal that he conceded, to be fair. I felt like it was, I don't know, I don't like when keepers almost sweep across the ground. Like he was almost, there's a goal similar to that we conceded a little while ago before Sanchez.
Didn't he go into the side netting of the far corner? So I'm like, what can I expect?
It's a good finish, but he just kind of, I don't know. I don't.
But he in a sense, he has to trust that Cucurella would block that out. I think that's more Cucurella issue.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I mean, a 6 ain't bad. It wasn't really involved that much. He had a save at the end from Koleosho, but
true.
Yeah, I think his playing out the back was better today. He didn't, as far as I remember, he didn't give any stupid pass away. So
no,
there's always that as well. But yeah, I think 6 is okay.
I mean, if you want to look at his passing, he had 94% accuracy, 2 or 4 long balls. Goals against faced was 0.39. He made 2 saves. I think a 6 is about right. Bertram, you kind of touched on the goal already. Your perspective on that, I'm kind of the same. Obviously, I'm not sure if you can say he has to expect or Cucurella to block it, but Sanchez has to make sure he blocks his own near post. and has to hope that the defender covers the far post. And if it then ends up going to the far post, I don't think the goalie from that angle, from that distance, can really do anything.
No, those are very difficult to save. When the shot comes between the defender's legs, good attackers are taught, to shoot between defenders' legs because it's almost, impossible for a keeper to save it, or at least see it in due time. So I think that goal, we'll touch upon it when we come on to Cucurella. But I think he was very good today. For me, when I give these ratings, I'd always give 6 for like an average performance. I think he was over average. I'd give him a 7. I thought his passing today was very good. He had a couple. He had a good switch into Caicedo, and he had another one to Cole, which I thought was very good. But I think I was watching the United game with this, and it's just night and day when you watch him versus a keeper like Onana. Because right now it's clear to see Sanchez has confidence, with the save he made, which, Pice touched upon late on, which he tipped over, just a standard save, but he still made it. The one that hit him, it didn't look pretty, but he saved it. I think he would have saved the goal that Onana conceded today, but it's night and day when you see these goalkeepers with and without confidence. So now I think we have one of the better goalkeepers in the league, and I'd give him an above average rating for his performance today. So for me, the keeper's perspective, I'd give him a 7.
Fair enough. That gives us a 6.5. Just one question to you, Bertram, on the goalie before we move on to the defenders. I feel like Sanchez loves a camera save. Sanchez loves to make a save look dramatic, not in a bad way. I'm not trying to say this in a bad way at all. But even that save that he made today, that you touched on for that long shot, he makes this look so dramatic. I'm like, this is a pretty standard save. Like, it's in the middle of the goal. You're 6'5". You should save this with your eyes closed. But he makes it look so dramatic, which I kind of find funny. Like, was it against Fulham the other week when he obviously jumped out?
He jumped through
and caught that ball, and then like the picture went everywhere. Like, in a way, I don't hate it because it gives off confidence. I don't mind it. But I just wondering if you feel the same as a goalie, that he does make them a bit more dramatic than they sometimes need to be.
Well, I suppose he needs his Instagram pics. So to put him up, I'm always of the school of thought when you have a save to make, as long as it's not like he should catch it and then he pushes it over and makes it dramatic. I always think if you make a save where if that save, for example, if he stood up and kind of parried it over, he might look a bit unsecure. But when he flies through, it makes him look better. So strikers secure him more in a sense. So if I ever play against someone and I can make a save more dramatic, I always do it. Always, because
there you go. It's the goalie's mind. The goalie's mind. There you go. All right, let's move on to the centre backs. I don't think either of these two centre backs, but we'll start with Thiago Silva, covered themselves in glory on that goal we conceded. Obviously, Cucurella, we'll get to him as well, and we touched on it already. But yeah, Thiago Silva, in the second half, I didn't really notice, but in the first half, it really annoyed me. He literally played like a walking sleeping tablet in everything he did. His passing out was so slow. I'm like, my nan would have been quicker. And what his positioning and even what he tried to do for when we conceded that goal, I know Disasi didn't do it right and Disasi let him cut behind him. But Silva was there. Silva could have gone for that tackle. And I don't think the guy was enough one-on-one with a goalie situation that it would have been a red card even if he doesn't get the ball. So I'm like, just fucking tackle him. You're Thiago Silva. You're one of the best defenders ever. Why wouldn't you tackle him? I don't understand. I found that very odd, very slow, really annoyed me. Obviously, we won the game in the second half. It wasn't as much of an issue anymore. But yeah, I just thought he was ridiculously slow today, really. Because we still won 4-1 and because we kind of conceded 2 chances, really, maybe 3 all game, I can't go too low. But I'm deciding between like a 4.5 and a 5. I'm going to say 5 and not be too harsh. Again, we won 4-1. But yeah, I still want to have it out there that I thought he was just ridiculously slow in everything he did. And that kind of frustrated me. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, nearly 300 people watching. Subscribe if you haven't already and hit that like button. And of course, always get your thoughts in the chat involved. If you want to make sure I read out your chat message, use the super chat function. Otherwise, I can't read all of them. Or of course, become a member like JC Fillon. Like he says, hit like, subscribe for Raheem the Dream. Exactly. By the way, my German commentator today kept calling Raheem Sterling Raheem. I'm like, excuse me, mate. All you need to do is read the name. Absolute moron. Anyway, I stick with you first, Bertram. 5 from my end. Obviously, you might disagree with the rating, but do you see what I mean in terms of that he was just slow, both on the ball, but then also on that goal that we conceded? I'm like, why are you so? Well, like, come on, move, man. I know you're 39, but like, if you're playing, you need to fucking move.
Yeah, I was just watching the goal back, and it looks weird in a sense, like you touched upon. It was very slow. I didn't really I didn't really, he didn't pop up too much when I watched him. He didn't stand out today, so I think for the mistake, a 5 or a 5.5 would probably be fair. Slightly under average for his lofty standards, but he is 39, so I suppose it is what we expect. But I think the only real incident I have right now when thinking of Thiago Silva is just him not really tracking back, or not being able to foul the guy before he played it through. So I think that weighs. I think a 6 would be average. So I'd stick with your 5 as well. I didn't think he stood out, and I think the mistake cost us in the end. So a 5 from my end.
Fair play. Pice, do you agree with 5 for Thiago Silva? Otherwise, what would you give him? But do you agree with my assessment of him just being slow in kind of most ways, in particular in the first half?
Sorry, what, bro? I know you've just the rating, yeah?
Yeah, just the rating, and whether you also think that he was just slow, both in defending that goal,
Yeah, he was.
and everything else.
He was. There was a lot to that goal, to be fair. Like, Colwell was at fault. Silva was at fault. I think even Cucurella and Disasi could have done a bit better.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll give Silva a 5.5. I don't think it's quite a 5. He didn't deserve a whole rating drop for me. But yeah, just that one incident. Again, this is why I'm just like a little bit skeptical as well with like going overboard, because like as much as I'm happy, it's like what happens when we play like these really good attacking teams? Like, are we gonna be able to cope? Like, I'm not sure. Like, there is still some incidents in games where we're like playing these lesser teams, and yet we're still like, letting shots on goal against us and stuff like that. So,
but even City do that, especially this season. So,
I mean, yeah, but with City, they have ridiculous attack, whereas we don't. We're still something developing. So, yeah, but anyway, I'll go 5.5 for Silva. He did well, other than that that incident there. But it's also a case of like, what can you really say? Like, everyone knows he's slow. Everyone knows he's better in a back three. It's like we're waiting for people to come back off injury. Hopefully Badiashile will be back soon. Colwell as well is having to play left back because currently we've got no right back, and then eventually maybe Cucurella will actually start playing left back, and then Colwell can go centre back when Gusto comes back. So it's like there's a lot of like.
Well, Reece James will be back before Gusto, won't he?
Yeah, true. Yeah, Reece James. So. Yeah, there's a lot of like circumstances as to why the defense is just muddled at the moment. But yeah, I think today was like the first real day where we thought, this defense is getting tested a little bit. Because Burnley have some really like young and exciting quick wingers as well, and a lot of overlaps as well from their fullbacks. So I felt like we were getting exposed a little bit. It was better in the second half, obviously, once we got control of the ball a little bit more. But yeah, it wasn't great at times, the defense.
There you go. No, I do agree. Overall, with your 5.5, still leaves us at a 5. And let's move over to Axel Disasi. Yeah, it's not really that much to say. Like Pies kind of touched on, he also should have done a bit better for the goal, in my opinion. Maybe not quite as much as Thiago, but very similar for me, to be honest. But I thought he was a bit better in distribution. He had that one lovely over-the-top ball to Sterling early in the first half that unfortunately Sterling couldn't control. That was a peach of a ball, which kind of deserved the goal, if I'm being honest. But I still don't think he deserves a 6, because I just think the passing out from the back in the first half was so slow, and it starts from both the centre-backs. Even though Disasi was better than Silva, hence why I'm giving him 0.5 more, I still don't think he warrants a 6. But outside of, the playing out from the back in the first half, I thought he was good. A little bit less at fault for the goal, but still at fault. So hence why I'm saying 5.5. But I'm liking him more and more. So, big up Disasi. Just a bit of a shame what happened on that goal. But yeah, 5.5 from my end. Pies. Considering you gave Thiago Silva 5.5, are you probably going to give Disasi a 6? Am I speculating correctly, or what would you say?
Yeah, I think so. He's definitely been better the last few games. But again, like I don't want to go too high, because like as much as I'm happy with the last 3 games, I want to see him, and everyone really, like Colwell again. Everyone was praising him for doing well at left back, and he has been. But like, these next run of games after today is going to be really interesting to see like how well he can keep up these performances, because they're good at the moment. I think the one really good thing about Disasi I've noticed is like his on-ball ability is really good. And that's just like, honestly, ball playing centre backs nowadays, it's just so important, especially in the Premier League.
Especially one that's as big as he is. You don't get that very often.
Yeah, I tell you what, there was one pass in the first half over the top to Sterling. I didn't quite control it. If that came off, and Sterling, got on the end of that. I mean, that's honestly like past the season. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, that's my main takeaway from this last season. His on-ball ability is really good, and he helps us out as well with the height. And I'm intrigued. The reason why I want to see Badiashile come back as well is like obviously was probably our best defender last season, even though it was a shit season. But
Thiago Silva was our best defender, bro.
I don't think
over
so.
the whole
anyway,
season, when you consider how many games Badiashile played. But I get what you mean.
I don't know. I don't think Badiashile's done any worse. So maybe level, but yeah, I think Disasi and Badiashile having partnered at Monaco, it's like they've already got that relationship there. So that's something that we can build there, hopefully, because I don't think
Silva's as great as Monaco. Can't wait for that.
Well, I don't think Silva's going to play much when Badiashile comes back, if I'm honest, because I feel like what Pochettino said about like he's had a chat with Silva and like he might not play as much. I don't think that's come full in effect yet until we have players back properly.
I just fear that Poch is so desperate for experience that he's not going to drop Silva no matter who's fit.
I mean, I'm only going off his previous comments and what actually.
And I hear your point absolutely, and you could be right. And I just got that feeling because Poch seems to love that experience. So, understandably so, with how young the rest of the squad is as well, I must say. But there you go. Did you say 6 for Disasi, bro?
Yeah.
Fair play. Batcham, you going to go with Price? You're going to go with me? You're going to go with something different? What would you give Disasi on the day?
Yeah, I'd give him a 6 as well. I think looking at the goal again, it is difficult. When he gets spun by the Burnley,
opened the inside a bit too much for him. Like he made it a bit too easy for that little cut inside, and then he was just through. Especially when he knew Thiago wasn't next to him. I think for Thiago not being there, I think he opened the inside up a bit too much. That's all I would say.
Yeah, well, I think he the way he turned instead of it could be I'm not for reasons not a defender, so I don't know. Technically how you do it, but it's when the offensive player like shifted, he kind of ran around himself to get back in position, get the tackle in. Where I think someone like Thiago Silva might have come down in speed and kind of just would have faced him and kind of shifted with him that way instead of having to run around, which in a sense might have closed down the shot a bit more previously. But it's very small details, and I don't really know what I'm talking about in a sense. But that's just observation. I think for me today, I'd give him a 6. I thought. He's not massively at fault for the goal. He could probably have done a bit better, but I don't think you could blame him for it. And the pass, which you've touched upon before, I thought was exceptional. I think you couldn't in a sense put it any better. It's just unfortunate that Sterling doesn't bring it down better, and Trafford comes off his line quickly. So I think for today, I think it was pretty average in a sense. I think the overall thing with Disasi is he looked a bit shaky in the first couple of games when we were tested against Liverpool, especially those first 30 minutes. He looked a bit shaky, so it's going to be very interesting to see how he tackles Arsenal's attack next game. The way he kind of gives off this vibe that we had. We've been quite blessed with central defenders for us. We had Rudiger and Thiago Silva. It felt like they could reach that top level of central backs. They could on their night be the best, central defender in the world. It feels like Disasi can't quite reach that level, but overall he's quite consistent, and he's a physical monster as well when we see him come up for corners. So I think even though he might not be able to reach that peak level, which we've seen Thiago Silva do, arguably Badiashile also last season, I think he was solid, and I think today he deserves a 6. So that's what I'd give him.
Yeah, I think it's a good assessment, honestly. So yeah, fair enough. Gives us a 6 overall. And we move on. Let's do Levi Colwill first. I will have to slightly disagree with what Pi said earlier in terms of that Colwill was also at fault for this goal. I know why everyone's saying this, because he obviously followed the winger. The winger received it, laid it off. But the left back has to follow the winger there. Like he has to do that. Sure, you can say he then gets beat too easily. But no, the problem really is how easy the layoff pass was for the winger and that no midfielder stopped that ball. Because for me, the left back has to follow the winger on that. Because the touch might not be as good, the layoff might not be as good. So Burnley's movement to offer that layoff, but also our midfield not stopping that layoff was a much bigger problem for me than Colwill following. For me, a left back has to do that. Now, sure, you can say he then doesn't have the pace to get back. Sure. But that doesn't mean that he shouldn't have done that before. That's a separate issue. That comes from our manager playing a centre-back and left-back. That's when, okay, your left-back still needs to push, but then it doesn't have the pace to track back. It is what it is. Raid gang, big up yourself, Lewis. Love that. Lewis Raid. Danish Mardini. Shout out everyone joining from Lewis. Love you all. But yeah, I'll go with you first, Bertram. I've seen you nodding, so I take it you agree from that perspective. Like, I'm not saying he did it perfectly, but I don't think you can say, because he followed up and then couldn't track back in time. I don't think that's the problem. Like, that's where you have not one defender, but a back four. The left back pushes up, then you should shift across. The problem was Thiago Silva stormed out, and Disasi had to push over, and then we all of a sudden didn't have three left, but one, kind of two, and that then made it a big mess.
Well, yeah, I think when you look at it first, I thought Colwell might have been not at fault, but had some blame in it. I think he does what he kind of has to do. I think it was pretty decent attacking playing for Burnley as well. The 1-2 and then the guy sprinting down the wing was pretty decent. So I think you can't really put him at fault for that goal. I think today he was quite good. I almost say he was our best defender. Also offensively, when I watched the goals back, he's almost the guy, passing it to Sterling before he does all these decisive actions. I think he almost had the pre-assist for the pen, the own goal as well. I think he had the pre-assist. So I think offensively, when he gets, moved, when he moves up, I think he is, quite decent as well for a center back, spraying balls through. So for me today, for being our best defender, I'd give him slightly above average. I'd give him a 6.5. That is the highest rating I'd give anyone in the defense, if I'm honest. So I'd say he's not at fault for the goal. I think it's just it speaks into the fact that our press wasn't properly coordinated.
Yeah,
and no one followed through.
I agree. So I'm not trying to say that what he did was perfect, but I don't think it was enough bad to call a mistake as such. If that's how you want to put it.
Yeah, I agree.
Looking at his stats, because I agree with your assessment, Bertram, but looking at his stats, crosses 0 out of 4, long balls 0 out of 3. But passes into the final third, he had 5. Passing accuracy had 90%, which is good. But the duels, super strong. 4 out of 5 tackles, 5 out of 6 ground duels, no aerial duels. He didn't commit a foul, had 7 recoveries as well. The only thing that really annoyed me was when he went for that outside of the boot cross in the first half. I was like, what on earth are you doing, man?
Still traveling up that ball.
Exactly. That was a bit of a mess from my end, but yeah, I would probably. Would I agree with a 6.5?
I think it's the thing, the cherry on top would be the passes there that he gave Sterling, which enabled us to have some chances as well. I think that's what kind of gives it the edge for me. Yeah,
I hear you. Because obviously I gave Disasi a 5.5, not a 6. I think I'm going to give Colwell a 6 and still have him as the highest from those lot. But Pice might say, well, Pice thinks it was a mistake, so he might go lower. We'll see. Pice, I think I'll go 6, but I might change my mind still. But 6.5 from Bertram. What would you give Levi Colwell? And what did you think about what I said in terms of the mistake? You said he obviously made a mistake. Don't you think that the left back has to follow the wing? And then what can he do? Like after the layoff, what is he going to do about it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just felt like he was extremely high on that one instance. Like it was like it was so far high.
I feel like I'm teaching, not at all. But if he's not that high, that just means he let the winger go without applying pressure. And wouldn't we also criticize him doing that?
But isn't he be better placed to defend one-on-one than rather him also not being aware of his surroundings when there's another player and they can just knock it straight past him? Like this is the thing. I always hate when defenders do this because I used to give Cucurella absolute slander for this because he always does this as well. It's just too over-aggressive. Like you need to.
I just think the midfield doesn't help them enough in these situations. I just think one of the defensive midfielders needs to then be there, and wasn't. But I still get what you're saying as well, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a bad game, but like, you can't watch that goal and say, "Oh, Colwell did nothing wrong." Like he did. Like, let's be honest, he definitely did do it wrong, in my opinion, anyway. But I'll go with a 6 for Colwell, because he did all right. Other than that, it was nothing. Like going forward, obviously, I don't expect much from him. He's in the wrong position. He's not going to carry the ball and whip amazing crosses in. So yeah, I think 6 is fair enough for him. He was decent enough on the ball, obviously, when he's in terms of just playing it round and stuff like that. He didn't make any terrible mistakes. But yeah, I didn't really notice like loads from him, to be honest with you. I can't lie, throughout the game. It wasn't like he was a really influential piece like last game when obviously he played that ball to Mudryk. So yeah.
There you go. Fair enough. As I am kind of undecided between a 6 and a 6.5, and these two boys have given those two ratings, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, I will give you a poll between 6 and 6.5. So place your vote in the poll in the chat at the top of the live chat. When you're on your phone, just open the live chat and you will see the poll. If you're on desktop, I'm sure you've seen it already anyway. So please place your vote. That would be amazing. And we move on to Mark Cucurella. Not quite as strong as right back today as it was the last two games. Although I must say, after a shaky start, also before the goal and then the goal itself, I think, especially the second half, I think he actually made up for it. And I actually think he had a very good second half. Now, people will say he does nothing going forward. Well, obviously not. He's not even good going forward on his preferred side. So, of course, he's not going to be good going forward when he's on the wrong side. But I don't think he deserves criticism for that, because he's the left-footed left back that in the past has played left back, left wing back, and left centre back, all of a sudden playing right back. I don't think he deserves any criticism for not doing more going forward. But yeah, in the second half, I thought he fixed himself. The yellow card, I mean, I get it. Ridiculous for me that Enzo got booked, by the way. But in a way, I still thought it was a bit harsh. The guy didn't even fall over or get hurt or nothing. So, yeah, I don't know about that one. But anyway, in the grand scheme of things, I would say his first half, especially the defender for the goal, really wasn't good. And also he got beat a couple of times by, what was his name? Udobert or whatever it is. Odobert. Yeah, there you go. Funny name. I don't know. I still, because I thought it was really good second half, I almost want to still give him a 6, but that's obviously overdoing it a bit, the mistake for the goal. So I'm going to say 5.5. Maybe you boys are going to go even lower than that, but I didn't really thought it was good second half. So that kind of makes up for a poor first half from me. So that's what I'd go for. Pice, 5.5 from me. I'd maybe even allow a push for a 6, but I don't think I'm going to get it. So yeah, I'm asking your opinion on the goal, but also, do you agree that he kind of improved second half?
Yeah, I think he did all right. I feel like, again, though, today was like the first game where I was like, oh shit, this looks a bit out of place. Like, as soon as every Burnley player, that Burnley winger, I forgot his name, the one who scored the goal. Yeah. Man, he was 18. I'm pretty sure he made his debut, and I felt uncomfortable every time he ran at Cucurella.
He's good. That his debut at 18. He's good.
Yeah, he was quite good. I'm glad Koleosho didn't start, to be honest, because I was having nightmares about that from what he was doing to Man U the other week. But yeah, I mean, he played okay, but I do agree with the rating. I think he wasn't, as good today, and he just got more tested, and he was made to defend more. He won a couple of nice tackles in the box. I remember one where like he defended really well and intercepted, basically read what the winger was going to do. But yeah, I just think with this back four, it's obviously like Cole and Cucurella, like how much can they go forward as well? They're both uncomfortable. Every time he did go forward, he obviously had to switch to his other foot, so it's just awkward. Yeah, I don't remember him putting a cross in today, to be fair, either, like a looped cross. But no. I feel like
actually he might have put one in actually to the far post.
Yeah,
Who played the cross that fell to Enzo when Enzo controlled it, and then the slide tackle came flying in? Was that Palmer or Cucurella? It might have been Cucurella, but regardless of what it was, I mean, if I bring up the stats, crosses. Well, he attempted one and it wasn't successful, so there you go. But obviously, sometimes these crossing stats are a bit weird. Where I'm like, I thought someone played a cross and then it says 0 crosses in hands. I'm like, how's that happen then? But yeah, there you go. 2 5.5s. Bertram, would you agree with 5.5? Would you give him a 6? A few people in the chat seem to be around that realm.
Yeah, I'd follow up with a 5.5. I think being consistent with the fact that mistakes, they do cost in ratings. I think it is a massive mistake to be able to, let the Burnley player shoot through his legs. I think the goalkeeper has to trust that you have that side covered, and not doing that's kind of the basic thing of defending. So I think that was a mistake. I think like most of the team for the first half, he wasn't that good. I think it was better second half. It was almost as if during the first half, him being inverted in a sense, he kept passing it back to Disasi, when for the second half he kind of tried. He shifted his body more forward. Yeah. And came further up, which helped us offensively. So I think his second half was much better than his first half. I think he was by far probably our worst player that first half. So I'd stick with the 5.5 for this rating.
Actually, I think maybe Gallagher was the worst player in the first half, but we'll get to that later. Moises Caicedo then. Now, me and Pice had a little disagreement in our group chat, and only for the first half. Second half, I have no disagreements whatsoever. Because Pice said he was good, and I thought he wasn't, basically. Because in the first half, to me, Burnley just walked through our midfield however many times they wanted to, and at any time they wanted to. And neither Enzo nor Caicedo, and Caicedo is obviously the more defensive of the two, never did anything about it ever. Offensively, Caicedo was good in terms of, build up, in terms of passing range. Was pretty happy with that. But in terms of just defensive output, I really didn't like it first half. But then second half, improved to that as well. The interception that led to... Which goal did it lead to? The fourth goal, I think? Was it the fourth goal? I think so. That was a good interception. And in general, I just thought it did good in total when you look at the second half as well. I'll bring up Pice's tweet too that had some stats of Moises Caicedo: 96% pass accuracy, 5 out of 6 long balls, 4 out of 5 ground duels won, 2 tackles, 0 times dribble pass. Again, the whole dribble pass is a bit like, well, if you're 5 yards off the guy, it doesn't count as dribble pass, but you still weren't anywhere near stopping it. So that's that I don't really like, but the other ones are obviously absolutely fantastic. Okay, was it the third goal? Fair enough. True blue clay. But yeah, there you go. Still not quite 150 million pound player, but certainly looking better and better. The Fulham game was strong today. His second half as well was really, really good. And we're starting to see the things I want to see. And, being a bit of a defensive, offering some defensive solidity, particularly in the second half, bringing some tackles in, something that we obviously lost when losing Kante, still having someone that can do those things. But adding to that, the passing range, that pass to Mudryk in the second half that could have arguably led to a goal, whether it's to Jackson or if Mudryk crossed it to Martin instead. That was a great ball. There was a few other great passes as well, like you see on screen, 5 out of 6 long balls, 96% pass accuracy. Very, very good. Very, very happy. And overall, I don't know. I'm not sure how high to go for the rating, if I'm being perfectly honest. You know what, Pice? I'll let you go first. What rating would you give Caicedo in total today?
Probably like a 7. I think he played quite well. I just felt like even in the first half, I just felt like he was on the ball a lot, and he was keeping things ticking really well. He was switching the play, kind of what Enzo was doing, a lot of the time when he was playing deepest, and I just felt he helped our ball progression quite a bit in the first half. He was looking for Sterling quite a lot, and I think in the second half, he just, that tackle that he won, he just came into the game even more, and he was just growing into the game, and he looked more comfortable, and I was like, okay, this is really what I want to see. Like, him and Enzo are starting to build something there now. Obviously, the spaces in the midfield is a big issue. Obviously, we was arguing in the group chat, discussing whether that's, on the players, on the manager. Maybe it's a bit of both at the end of the day. It probably is. But yeah, I think he played really well. Obviously, the highlight is obviously the tackle he made. The anticipation to read that was just brilliant. And then obviously it was just good little team goal there from Gallagher playing the ball through and stuff. But yeah, I think he's getting better. I don't know what his dual stats were like, but he was involved in a lot of midfield battles, I thought.
3 out of 4 ground duels, 1 out of 1 aerial duel, one out of 2 tackles.
He did quite well. I'll go 7 for Caicedo.
Fair dues. Bertram, would you go along with a 7? Would you go potentially higher? I doubt you're going to go lower. So what would you give Caicedo?
I think he was... I'm between a 7 and a 7.5 because I think he was very, very good. I disagreed with you that his first half was as poor. I think his second half was definitely better, but I thought we were quite solid defensively, even through midfield. Through the first half, you might disagree with it. But I thought we held them relatively away from big chances. I think his passing has definitely improved, and I think you touched upon the fact before that he doesn't look like a 150 million pound player. I think once we're a better team, he will shine through, and we will see the best of him. I think a thing I always noticed with him when he played for Brighton was when he came very deep, like with Sanchez before, when there are 2 people pressing in our own box and he and the goalkeeper are able to play out of it. So I think his second half, warrants a good rating. I think I would stick to I'd give him a 7.5. I thought it was very good. I think his tackle, he had a tackle that led to the Sterling pen. He had the tackle that led to the 3-1 goal as well, which was very, very good. His passing overall was fantastic, kept us ticking. I think this is by far his best performance. The second half is by far his best performance in the Chelsea shirt. And having a presence like him who has, defensively is able to go and win the ball back, but, simultaneously be able to pass it through. I think, we begin to see our center backs, trusting him the ball as well. Sanchez as well, being able to pass straight to him. So I think this is, for me, this is the best performance I've seen from him in a Chelsea shirt, and that warrants a 7.5 and close to a man of the match title, which he doesn't get, but very close. I thought he was very good. A 7.5 for me.
There you go. I'm just because for me, if I split it up into two halves, his first half for me was like a 5.5-ish, and his second half was probably like an 8.5. If I give that an even split, it does end up with a 7, but I was so happy with it for the second half that I would be tempted to go for a 7.5. So I think I will, which is kind of weird. When for the first half, me and Pi's arguing, I said it wasn't great, and Pi said it was good, and now I'm giving a higher rating. But hey, sometimes things are weird. So here you go. I'm just going to give him that 7.5, sorry. And ladies and gentlemen, again, please still place your vote for Levi Colwell's rating between 6 and 6.5. We move on to Enzo Fernandez, who honestly, I wasn't particularly happy with today, or not particularly impressed with today. First of all, got himself booked for complaining. Now, you can argue it's silly from the ref, but why are you complaining? You don't even speak English. What were you complaining about? Do you know what I mean? Sure, the passing accuracy wasn't bad, but his shooting is just awful. Like that shot he had when that Jackson flicked it back with the back heel so nicely, and he kicked it like a bloody grandpa. Like, what are you? Bloody hit some power. I watched the guy at the World Cup. My guy was putting every shot top corner, and now he can't even get the ball off the ground. And this was the right foot. Usually he's only dreadful on the left foot. But yeah. And also then when he did receive that one cross from the other side and he chested it down and he was so hesitant and let the attacker come in. I'm like, come on, man. I know you're not like an attacker, but you're that good. And we all know you're that good that I need more also in these positions from you. So for me, I'm not saying he was bad, but I don't think he deserves any more than an average 6, personally. Now, the stats aren't obviously bad. 92% accuracy, 2 out of 3 tackles, 6 out of 9 ground duels, actually really good defensively, 12 out of 14 long balls. I mean, the more I read these stats, the more I think I'm wrong. But I still just didn't feel like he played any really decisive passes, like a special ball today. Now, defensively, he seems to have been really good, to be fair. But looking at the stats, at least. But yeah, I just wasn't really feeling it. I just don't think he did enough. So I'm going to say 6, but maybe that is a bit harsh, and I should maybe at least say 6.5. But we'll see what the other boys think. Bertram, I'll go with you first. Am I being harsh? Do you agree? Like I say, the stats look really good, but in my eye, it didn't look that good. So I don't know what you think.
Well, if there's one thing that can annoy you, I think it is getting a yellow card for going up to the referee. You hated it with Jackson as well, which cost him a suspension. So I think his first half was.
Doesn't have Enzo like 4 yellow cards as well by now, or 3 at least.
I think he should be close. I remember he had a couple.
He literally did nothing, by the way. Like, I saw it on my stream. He literally did nothing. He just walked over to him and he literally got a yellow card.
He probably said something, I guess, but yeah.
I mean, like the ref would understand him anyway. Stuart Atwell is notoriously so trigger happy with his yellow cards. Like I think he leads like the referees something. I don't know. Like I saw, isn't he like one of the people that's involved in like the what's it called? Like the head of referee. I don't know, but yeah, he's like one of the chief referees, isn't he? He's so like thinks he's so authoritative. He's pissing me off today, but. Yeah, go on. Yeah,
it was a bit weird. I don't know.
Whenever he refs games,
you guys see that, by the way. Just after half time, all of a sudden the little like graphic popped up. The Pochettino got booked, like literally just after half time, and they never showed why he got booked, or if it's even true. Maybe it was a wrong graphic, right? But that was a bit weird. And by the way, it was Enzo's 3rd yellow, so it's not that bad. But still, we're only like in October, and he's already on 3 yellows, so like, it's not ideal. That is it. But yeah, there you go. Pice, what rating would you give him? Sorry.
I think 6 is fair enough, to be fair. I think obviously he's really good on the ball, but it was just, I don't know, like lack of movement as well forwards. Like I saw, some players just not really like. I saw him like kind of look for that pass over the top to Broja quite a bit, but he didn't really attempt it, and it was just sort of like I don't know, nothing like special was really coming off, and it was a bit sideways at times, but. I think he did all right. Like, there's not much to say. Like, he didn't drop a stinker. He didn't play great. His shooting does need to improve though. Like, even that cutback, I felt like he could have just taken a touch and then like tried to bend it in the corner. Like, he always seems to rush his shots. I've noticed that. Like, even the first time ones when like they come back and he just hits it like on the when he tries to curl them and stuff like that. Like he never takes a touch and sets himself like.
I mean, he should be good enough to not need a touch, but clearly he does.
I mean, yeah, but like it's just like he just rushes it, and I don't know why, but yeah, I think 6 is okay. I thought you was going to go a bit lower, to be honest. But when you said you weren't happy, but
like I say, when I look at the stats, I even still feel like I'm still going a bit low because his stats.
I wasn't happy with the amount of space that was in midfield, like you were saying. But I don't know. I tend to think like, you know, remember we always had that issue on the Lampard. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's the coach, and that." I don't know. Like I tend to do believe it's more the coaches, you know, way they set up. But yeah, it's weird because as you said, it was better against Fulham, and it was. But then again, Fulham were worse.
And it was
than
better second half today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But then again, obviously Fulham were worse than Burnley on the ball. Burnley do try and play. They've got actually some decent players. So
they do.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know what that came down to really, but we definitely did get split open quite a lot. It just seemed like it was a lot of open space. Burnley always had someone running through the middle.
And the weird part about that is we didn't even press properly. So how can we not press properly and still have acres of space in our midfield? I don't even understand how that's possible. But yeah, there you go. Bertram, I realized when I asked, Pice, what rating did you give him? I thought I was talking to Pice 2 minutes before that, but I wasn't. I was talking to you. So my apologies. I'm going back to you. And please inform us about what rating you would give Enzo as well.
Yo, I agree that this definitely wasn't his best game in the Chelsea shirt, but I still think he was decent. I think his first half almost mimicked Caicedo's second half without the decisiveness. I think he's been his defensive presence. I think lately has been very good. You know, very overlooked. I think he won a lot of tackles today, and was an important factor to why we didn't get overrun. He had some very good diagonal passes today out to Palmer and Gallagher. He had one to Cucurella as well. So I think that he was quite good there. It wasn't quite the same to Sterling and Colwill, but I think that was decent. The thing is, I was on Twitter before, and people were saying, you know, this is pretty much his worst game in a Chelsea shirt, and we'd still give him 6. I'd give him a 6.5 personally. I think he's just a little bit above average. Okay. Now you know what? I'd give him a 6. I think for his lofty standards, I think he was quite average, but I still think he was decent. I think his tackling was good. I think he had some good diagonal passes still. So I'd give him a 6.
There you go. I do agree. He had good diagonal passes. I just felt they were a bit used. Like in the moments that he played them, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're switching play. But you're Enzo Fernandez. Obviously, you can play this pass, but this pass doesn't really help us break open Burnley in this situation. Like, it was just your easiest pass. Not easiest in terms of course, he could have rolled it 5 yards to Enzo next to him. But it wasn't a pass that would open Burnley up a little bit. So it's kind of like, it's a bit like Sanchez making a save look a bit more dramatic. Enzo plays a pass that for him is nothing special, but obviously it's a really good pass to play 50 yards across the pitch. Of course, that's difficult. But because of how good he is, I'm not going to give you too much benefit where you switch the ball for 50 yards when nothing comes from it because everyone's static. But obviously that isn't all his fault. So I get where you're coming from. But yeah, there you go. Leaves us at a 6 overall. Now we get to Conor Gallagher. It's a weird one because the assist to Sterling, really good. Not sure why VAR took that long to make sure that was offside. Probably PTSD from that Spurs-Liverpool situation. But outside of that, now the second half he got better. But I thought he was awful in the first half. I don't know if people agree with this, but the amount of bad touches he had really annoyed me. He tried to get into tackles, had the ball, and then all of a sudden didn't have it anymore. I'm like, what are you doing? And then him and Palmer, like they interchanged a little bit. Sometimes Palmer was on the wing, sometimes Gallagher. And whenever Gallagher was there, his crossing was awful. I'm like, come on, man. You can be better than that. But obviously the pass and the assist was really good. Passing accuracy overall, 92%. Can't complain about that, really. 2 out of 3 tackles, 6 out of 12 ground duels. It's kind of what I'm getting at. 50% is not amazing for who he is, right? Gallagher, you know, one of the good things about him is how he gets stuck into tackles and his hard work and stuff. And then to only have 50% dual success rate isn't that amazing. So even with the assist, I still don't think it deserves more than a 6, sorry. Because I just thought the first half was particularly poor. But the assist was great, and takes him out of having a below average performance or below average rating, hence why I'm giving him a 6. Bertram, ever gone too high? I mean, a couple of people said, someone said 5.5, someone said 9 was clearly a joke, I assume. 6.5, 6. So maybe I'm not too far off. What would you say, Bertram?
I think if we have to take a rating, away from someone or a 0.5 away from someone for a mistake, we'd have to give it for something good as well. I thought he was pretty dreadful, in the first half.
Otherwise, he wouldn't get a 6.
Exactly. I think his first half was quite dreadful, but he showed his quality in the second half, being able to press through. I think we also saw how good, the midfield kind of held together with, perhaps Caicedo controlling the ball and Gallagher being able to swoop in and help in the press. So I think the midfield unit is beginning to look better and better. His pressing was very good in the second half, multiple times when he chased down Burnley's left back, I think. So he shows what he can give in that situation. I think the assist as well, very good pinpoint pass. He waited. It was, it's like green timing a shot on FIFA. It was perfect. A second more, millisecond more, he would have been off. We would have been very frustrated. But in the end, he made the assist. He was pretty good. I would give him a 6. His second half performance would warrant a 7, but his first half performance was that dreadful that it, pulls it down there. So I'd give him a 6. I thought he was pretty good. His second half, at least.
Yeah, fair enough. Spot on. I couldn't agree more, really. Pice, would you be in agreement as well in terms of good second half, poor first half overall at a 6, or what would you say?
I was going to give him like a 5, to be honest with you. I think he was our worst player today. It was a decent assist. I didn't expect him to make that pass, but his first half was so dreadful that honestly, like I would have given his first half like a 2. It was terrible. Like I literally forgot he was on the pitch. Like, but the second half he played really well.
He had so many bad touches. I could constantly remind him that he's there.
There's a bit of that, and it was like also like, oh shit, like what is Gallagher doing? Because like in the second half, you could notice like how much he was pressing and stuff like that. And at least if he isn't good on the ball, at least you usually notice that. But in the first half, we were so like. We just felt like we was like lethargic or just didn't. I don't know, man. Like our second half was so much better, and just in terms of like work rate and energy and how we pressed, when we pressed, and he was better on the ball in the second half as well. So that bumps his rating up. But I'll give him a 5 because comparatively how he has been playing, I was a bit disappointed. Can't lie.
But the assist was really good. That's
it was really good. But
Enzo, and Enzo hasn't done it so far this season. But Gallagher,
his first half was really poor though. So
yeah, I agree with that. But there you go.
Because he was still below average in my opinion.
Fair enough. And if you give him a 5, that overall leaves us at a 5.5. And we move on to Cole Palmer. An interesting one because he got a goal and he got an assist. But he also lost the most duels in the game. I see here. Because he had 8 ground duels and lost every single one of them. So that's not great. But accurate long balls, 4 out of 6. Crosses, 0 out of 2 is not great. Successful dribbles, 0 out of 4 is not great either. Passing accuracy, 81%. It's a weird one because he wasn't great, I must say, but there were still moments where I really liked what he did in terms of when he receives the ball, how he turns players. I really like that. How he looks for passing. Yeah, the crosses might say they, didn't complete any. The passing accuracy isn't the best either. But I feel that's because he tries passes that the others don't. And that's why I think he's such a good player. And the fact that he got to take the penalty, in my opinion, shows a lot about him. The fact that Poch chose him to take the penalty, I think is quite telling. And yeah, fair play to him. Because he still got a goal, took the penalty, unlike Enzo, back against West Ham, and also got a nice assist for Jackson, was it? I still going to give him a 7. I know the stats don't fully reflect that. I understand it. But goal and assist, I think it's harsh if someone, even if it's a penalty, if someone gets a goal and assist, to get less than a 7 will be a bit harsh. Maybe I should even go 7.5 like JP in the chat here, but I'm going to go 7 for the time being and see what the boys say. Pice, Cole Palmer, goal and assist, but what rating would you give him?
First off, really surprised he took the penalty. I can't lie. Like, is he good? Is he a penalty taker now? Like, what's happening? I don't know. But yeah, good penalty. Decent assist as well. But that was more Jackson's. Like, because I thought like the chance was gone, and then Jackson kind of did that sort of shimmy What did he actually do? It was like a. It was
like first he dragged it back and then he kind of Cruyff turned it.
Almost like Cruyff turned it away.
Yeah. So it obviously wasn't like a pass like Gallagher's or whatever, but overall I was a bit, not disappointed, but I want to see him play more centrally. I don't think the wide position suits him that well. I can't lie because he's not very quick. And I don't know. I'm not sure about him there. Like, I don't think he can affect the game as much. Like, for example, in the first half, there was one time where he came centrally, where he was in Gallagher's position, and he picked it up and he played a really good ball out wide to Sterling. And then, like, I'm pretty sure that was one of our only chances in the first half where we got in the box because Sterling again was causing havoc. And I was like, okay, so what happens if you actually played there and you could constantly do that? You know, like pick the ball up in between the lines and drive forward. But I just feel like out wide he's a bit wasted. I don't know, but yeah.
I go back to what I said to Bertram earlier. I think if he has a right back behind him that pushes up, him playing right wing is perfectly fine. But having Cucurella behind him and Palmer having to do proper winger work the whole time, that's not his game. I agree with you.
His pressing's good though. Surprised me actually how well he works. 7 or a 6.5. No, I think you gotta go 7 for the 2 goal contributions. Yeah.
There you go. Fair play. Bertram, would you be in agreement? Would you potentially even go higher? What was your assessment?
Well, it's weird because I don't normally like to be negative, so I think going under a 7 would kind of, just go against that grain. I think today he was poor. I liked him much better against Fulham and even against Brighton in the Cup. I thought he was better there. But the thing is with Palmer, you can't argue against the fact that he scores, he assists, he gets on base, as they say in Moneyball. Even in a game where I thought he played poorly, he takes the pen. You could say, it's a pen. It still needs to be scored. We're not known for being able to score that many pens.
Yeah. Especially since Jorginho left. I said literally, as he stepped up, I'm like, if he misses that now, we need to re-sign Jorginho purely for penalties.
Exactly. And I think, you still need balls to kick that in. Start of the second half, 48 minutes against James Trafford, who, they went to the, was it under 21 World Cup together, where they I know for a fact they've practiced pens. And I don't know if you remember, but, Spain in the final, they get a pen against Trafford. When he's walking around, there's a clip of him walking around on the bench saying, I bet you he saves this. I bet you saves this. So he knows Trafford is good at saving pens as well. And he had to stand there long as well and wait with the ball in hand for the VAR check. So
if the foul was in the box, wasn't he?
Exactly. So very mature to be able to step up and score. And the assist as well. Yeah, okay, it's not Jorginho against Watford level assist for Tammy, but an assist is an assist. He passed the ball. I think almost with his weaker foot. He waited the perfect amount of time to give it to Jackson.
There you go. Maybe
it was a decent pass. So
no, it was a good pass.
It was a good pass, yeah. And I just, for the rating, for the fact that he gets stats, he gets goals, gets assists, I just stick with the 7. But I agree. I'm excited to see him with a proper right back. But I would hope to see him a bit more centrally for the assist he made for. But the thing is, when he plays on the right, he's able to cut in. I think both the assist against Brighton, the assist against Fulham as well. He's coming in from that right side, being able to pass through to the striker. So I hope. It's fine, he starts out on the right, but he moves closer, a bit more centrally toward the striker, but he still has his, base, as you could almost say, on the right side. But very, very impressive from him. And it's just impressive that he keeps getting these numbers. I think he's our chance to redeem the KDB mistake we made all those years ago.
Oof, that's a big goal, but fair enough. Not quite sure I put him on KDB levels, but there you go. Big up Cole Palmer.
At least some redemption, hopefully.
Bro, you're talking about maybe the best Premier League midfielder of all time. Like,
yeah, and KDB, it's crazy.
Fair play.
Bloody hell. There you go. Let's get to Raheem Sterling. Oh boy. Raheem Sterling is a weird guy because, first of all, my commentator keeps calling him Raheem, which after he then played the way he did, maybe I should call him Raheem as well. But he obviously started the season off really well. And then he kind of just dropped off. And between the last international break and today, he kind of didn't really do anything. When he played, he never did anything, unless I'm forgetting something now. And then he also didn't play on a couple of occasions. But today, boy, was he good. Now, there was still moments in the first half where I thought he wasn't as good as it makes it look. Sorry if you can hear the ambulance noises in the background. Because he took players on, but then the final ball or finish was never any good. But he kept trying. He kept taking them on. And he was the only one creating any sort of danger, whether that was his shooting, whether that was his dribbling and then attempting to cross. He was the guy that was doing it. And then, forcing their own goal, as much as it was pure luck. And I can't even give him too much credit for it because it's a cross that just happened to be, deflected into the goal, and the cross wasn't even good. Let's be honest now. But still, he had to beat his man first to get into the position to get the cross in. Wins the penalty, which I don't think our players do enough of anyway. Like, just go for winning a penalty. And Sterling is going to be the guy that will do it in our team. So that was great. The finish, he took it really, really well. Was very happy with that. So in the end, in total, with how much he carried the whole attack and everything else, I think my guy Warren's a 9 out of 10. I don't think a 10 out of 10 is quite, would be overdoing it. But I think a 9 out of 10 is absolutely justified and fair. Pice, thoughts on Sterling? Thoughts on the rating?
I mean, what can you say? It was brilliant. He really was. I have a love-hate, thing with Sterling. He's either just brilliant and unplayable, or he's absolutely dreadful. Like, there's no in between with him. Sometimes I want to get him off the pitch, as the first sub. Other times it's like, you can't drop this guy. Like, he's ridiculous. When he's running at players just constantly over and over and over again, he doesn't just run aimlessly. He changes direction. He'll run right, and then he'll run left, and then he'll put the ball in. And other times he'll run and then cut inside and shoot. He nearly scored a great goal in the first half when he whipped the ball around. It was like almost reminiscent of Williams' goal when we beat them 4-0. If you remember that goal, he kind of cut in and he got in the corner. It would have been the exact same goal. And I only remember that because I was watching them highlights last night. But trying to manifest something, and we scored 4 again, so maybe that worked. But he was brilliant. Almost nearly nutmegged the goalie as well in the first half when again he got into the box, and I thought that was quite cheeky, but good save. But his goal was so well taken. Like, the power he got on that, I was like,
weak foot as well.
It was almost like a FIFA finish, like one of those low-driven shots you do across the box. But yeah, just so happy with him today. I think a 9 is very well deserved. I mean, some people saying to me, like, what's even on my website is like, what's stopping him from getting a 10? I mean, should he get a 10? I don't know. Like, it was unplayable today, really. He really was.
Yeah, he was. So you agree with the 9, yeah? Or what did you say?
I do, yeah. But it's like a lot of people saying, should he get a 10? What more could he do? I understand it. I see it.
Well, I still think there was moments where I more in the first half, obviously. The second half, he was kind of perfect. But in the first half, there's still moments where I'm like, I don't understand why you're not making a run there, or why you standing there. Or some of the like some of the crosses he attempted, I'm like, where are you trying to cross the ball to? So that's why I'm not quite giving a 10. But I also see why people are saying that. He kind of forced and created every goal. So I also get why people would say a 10. But there you go. Bertram, I mean, would you be one of those people saying he does deserve a 10? Or do you think a 9 is about right?
No, I wouldn't give him a 10. I think a 10 is reserved for the best of the best performances. But that being said, I thought he was very good, even though he had a slow start in a sense. But, he came alive quicker than a lot of the other players. I think he was instrumental in coming back. I think the effort he had, which Pice touched upon, which Trafford saved, it could have gone in between his legs. So I thought that was quite decent as well. I think today he showed why he's one of the top players for us when he's on form. But to get that pen as well, he had quite it's not that he gets the ball, it passed into his feet and then runs like a couple of meters and then gets put down. He's standing with the ball, still on the byline and still has to run a fairly decent amount of weight through 2 players to get that pen. And he waits, just the right amount of time before he gets the contact to fall. So I thought that was very good. Superb finish as well. No need to underestimate that. Great run. Superb finish to get between. Trafford is a good goalkeeper as well. So I think he was very, very good today, and I think he deserves his plaudits. So I would give him a 9. He's the reason we win today. He's the difference maker, and if we have a hope in hell against Arsenal, he needs to step up and show the form he played with today.
And in an ideal world, you have him and Mudryk on the pitch, because also Mudryk coming on, you saw that Mudryk is still also a threat. So you kind of
Mudryk somehow play him right wing.
Yeah, no, exactly. You just stand and
but
find a way.
I would say
switch them in game. Make it interesting for the opponent.
Exactly, but I think if we get an amount of points against Arsenal and it's down to a Mudryk goal. Can you imagine?
Mate.
Mudryk scoring the winner.
The thing
since 2021, man.
Yeah.
The thing with Sterling as well is like he's so like you can play him left or right, and he's had now 2 games where it was the Luton he played right wing, and this game he played left wing, and it's like he's had 2 games now where he's actually put in 2 top quality performances in each position. Whereas, last season and, really even under Tuchel, I know it was only a couple of games, but it was like, which one is he better at? But if he's going to be really good at both, then obviously that's ideal for Mudryk as well, because if Sterling can play on the right, then, it probably means, it's hard because you don't see him dropping Gallagher, but obviously you've got Palmer and, Mudryk on the left, maybe Palmer in the 10, like Carney coming back. Like, you've got a lot of options, so I'd rather him
I think
play
against
well.
Arsenal, he might just drop Palmer, purely for...
like if he plays well in both positions, it's more ideal because you're then not stuck to one position and, hurts less players. So I think that's a good takeaway as well.
I agree. All right, let's move up the pitch to the final of the starters. I'm under Broja. I'm going to keep this one quite short. I'm going to give him a 5. I think the main issue today was a lack of service. He didn't really get the ball in any good positions. He had one nice little piece of dribbling, but then lost the ball after. I don't think he was good, but I think the main issue was the lack of service, more so than anything, than him being particularly bad. But I still don't think he did enough to get a 6. So 5 it's going to be from me. Bertram, would you go along with that? Do you think he deserves even lower than that, or what do you make of Broja?
I give him like a 4.5. I'm honest, being nice. I think he wasn't very good. That being said, I still see the potential in him. I think, there's a potential for a very, very good player, and his, physical qualities, his size, his pace, stuff like this. Once we're a more settled side, I think he and Palmer could strike up a good relationship, him and Sterling even as well. But I think today he just wasn't very good, even through the. He's not even back to full fitness, which is fair enough. So it's not a knock to him. I just think today he wasn't very good. Even when he got the ball, I think he made the wrong decisions. Especially that dribbling trip he took throughout the box. I think he made the wrong decision a couple of times to keep it going. So I think for me today at 4.5, I think he was our worst starter. And that being said, he already just played 45 minutes, so he couldn't resurrect it. But we saw the difference when Jackson came on. So. Not a knock on him. I just think he wasn't very good today. So for me, a 4.5.
Fair enough. Pice, a 5 from me, a 4.5 from Bertram. What would you give Broja?
Probably a 5.5, just because I felt like he was average, but at the same time he was offside a couple of times. I felt like he took too long on the ball, like when he had the ball.
Oh, he was only offside once, but yeah.
Was it? I thought it was 2. Okay, but yeah, that's a common theme with him and Jackson. By the way, it's not just Broja; they're always bloody offside. But
I think it's just a common theme with how we play football. But yeah,
it's so annoying. There's nothing but we always get strikers that just love an offside. Anyway, there was a couple of times where I wanted him to shoot, but. You just hold on to the ball. He wasn't dreadful, but only a half as well. It was probably 5.5, just a bit below average. But I did feel for him a little bit because we played shit in the first half. It was like, how much service did he have? He had no service, really, Even the
underlying stats aren't bad. He had 10 out of 10 completed passes, so 100%. 1 out of 2 dribbles.
That's another thing, like 10 passes in one. Like, he just wasn't involved much, was he? Like, it was a bit sort of.
But you say that, Jackson played the entire second half, he only had 7 passes. So.
Really? That's surprising. That's surprising.
And he only completed 5 of them. But we move on to Jackson straight away. I'll stick with you, Pice. Great goal. Like, that drag back, turn into Cruyff turn, if you want to call it that. Filthy. Absolutely filthy. The finish was good as well. This is what I like to see from Jackson. This is what we saw in pre-season and then haven't since. I like it. The flick back, the back heel to Enzo, that should have been a goal, quite frankly. Would have been a wonderful assist too. Absolutely brilliant. Very, very happy. But Pice, what rating would you give Jackson and with the goal and everything else?
Difficult one because, the stats say he wasn't involved that much, but he scored a goal. He was definitely really good on the pressing front. Obviously, had that back flick to Enzo, which would have been such a nice team goal, and he's really good at that as well. He sometimes struggles, like with his feet and stuff like that sometimes. But when he does like these, when he works on instincts, I feel like he's a really good player. Like the goal, it was instinct. It was instinctual. He knew what he was doing. He had to make a decision quick, and he scored the goal. Rating, I would go with probably a 6.5.
Really?
Yeah, probably a 6.5. Just because he got the goal, but he wasn't involved loads. So
yeah, but is that him being bad, or is that just part of being a striker? Like Haaland sometimes scores 3 goals and has 12 touches. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's 3 goals, bro. That's a hat trick.
No, obviously, I get that, but he only played one half, scored a goal, and should have had an assist, or could have had an assist as well. But obviously, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I tend to go really high on attackers that are involved in like all phases of the game. For me personally,
it's weird how you hate Havertz then, because that's the only thing Havertz did is be involved. But anyway, I'm off.
Yeah, he hurt my eyes too much, unfortunately, bro. He was like Conor Gallagher in the first half, but up front. If you put Conor Gallagher up front, that's Havertz. But yeah,
a bit harsh on Gallagher. Bacham, 6.5 from Pice. Honestly, I find it surprisingly low, to be honest. But what would you give Jackson for his second half performance?
I think I would probably budget up to 7 for his, his pressing. The fact that we were much better when he came on, the goal as well, tough to look past. That being said, I think I would have, in an ideal world, have seen him do better with the Mudryk chance that he in a sense wasted, but we were 4-1 up. So I suppose it is what it is. But I think we should pay homage to the fact that it's nice to have a striker who is calm in front of goal. Being able to not just shoot at the goalkeeper quickly. What would Timo have done in that situation? We can all think back to. We all love him. Yeah, kicked it over. But I think I thought there were shades of the Tammy goal against Arsenal in a way, where the last minute one away. So I think for the goal and for the fact that we just became a much better side when he came on, I'd give him a 7. I still think he's a very raw player. I think there's much more to come from him. But I would like to see him be a bit more decisive in the box for that situation. But a very good goal, technically very good. Kept his composure and was able to kick it to the only place, because Trafford does, he does cover the goal quite well in that situation. He could easily have missed, so he puts it in that one area where he doesn't, where there's open. So very impressive, very good start from him. I'd give him a 7.
There you go. See, I would even give him a 7.5, which overall leaves us at a 7 with 6.5, 7, and 7.5. Because, like I say, obviously, yeah, you touch on that chance that Mudryk created for him. That's a fair point. I still personally think Mudryk probably should have crossed it to Martin, who would have been there for a much easier tap-in than Jackson, who pretty slightly played it behind him, and then Jackson's touch wasn't that great, and that kind of ruined it.
He couldn't have let it go, or
was someone behind him? I couldn't tell you, if I'm being perfectly honest.
I'll just check it back.
Yeah,
but it's nitpicking.
It's like also other stats, right? Ground duels, he had 3 out of 4, which is good. He had 2 out of 2 successful dribbles. The back heel, like I touched on, yeah, for me, a 7.5. As a coming on, only playing the second half, I think this was a good performance, and I'm very happy with it. And also he scored the 3-1, right? That was the goal that killed the game.
He scored for the 4-1. Sterling.
He's true. Yeah, you're right. Actually, no, you're right. Okay, so that's why Sterling got a 9. But yeah, Sterling killed the game. Sorry, it's true. But yeah, still,
he should have passed Matson. You're right.
Yeah, because it would have been a tap in, wouldn't it, for Martin? I mean, I get obviously in that moment, Mudryk sprinting. He probably saw Jackson first and then just decided I'm playing to him. Fair enough. But yeah, obviously in hindsight, the ball to Martin would have been a bit better. But yeah, we only made 3 subs today, which is quite interesting. Obviously, Mudryk came on for Raheem Sterling, and then Cole Palmer was replaced by, Ian Martin. Again, why not Madueke? By that point, that sub was made. We were 4-1 up. Why wouldn't you bring on Madueke? But a left back? Don't understand. But anyway, do either of them need a rating, or are we going to give NA for both of them?
I think Mudryk would deserve 1 for that run. I thought that was pretty decent. I'd give him at least maybe 6.5, if we can give that, because he was above average. Good touch, good run. Maybe should have passed it better, but his touch is something we've seen him improve massively on. Which that ball is something we're going to score from in the future, I think.
Yeah. I agree. Fair enough. Give him that 6.5. And I think Martin, honestly, other than that he should have got the ball from Mudryk, didn't really seem to do anything. So he definitely gets an A. Pice, would you agree with a 6.5 for Mudryk, obviously, as a sub?
No, I would do NA for both. I know Mudryk had that run, but that was...
You know what? Mudryk only came on after 83 minutes. I think
NA
he was probably. But we can still mention that run and, as a positive thing, even without giving him a rating. All right, boys, let's finish it off with a rating for the man himself, Mr. Pochettino. It's a weird one because, like I said, the first half was really poor. I was really unhappy with it. But to me, that felt more like a player's issue because to me, there was no intensity from anyone. And then I'm like, I can't blame the manager if 11 players don't try. Like that's too. Like these are still professionals. These are adults. Even if there are a lot of young players in there, they are still adults. Like you have your own self-responsibility of when you play for Chelsea Football Club, when you play in the Premier League, you turn up, you try. And I don't think that was the case in the first half, sorry. And then obviously I wasn't there, but it felt like to me there was a good old bollocking happening from Poch at halftime, and in the second half we turned up and turned things around. So from that perspective, I've got to be pretty positive. And also, Jackson, he brought him on at halftime, scored the goal, could have had an assist. He decided to start Sterling. We don't know, obviously, was it a fitness situation for Mudryk or was it purely a choice? We don't know. But I guess it worked out in the end. There's still a few things where I'm like, does Palmer need to play in the wing? Does Gallagher really need to play, especially against a team like Burnley? So I'm not going to go crazy high because of how the first half was, but I'm going to give him a 7. Pice, is that about where you'd go for Poch, or what would you give him?
Yeah, I was around that area. Really hated the first half. We got so lucky with that own goal. We needed that own goal because I was really worried we was probably only going to escape with a draw otherwise, or maybe even lose. I still feel like we were going to score at some point just because of the amount of time, like how well Sterling was doing in the first half. And Burnley haven't been great defensively. They do actually try and play football and not park the bus. So I was still confident we'd get something, but yeah, I mean. You probably could go with like an 8 because the second half was so good and we scored 4 goals and we had time to bring Martin on, we had time to bring Mudryk on. The sub at halftime obviously worked out with Jackson coming on as well and scoring the goal. So but for me personally, our overall performance still isn't great. Maybe that's why I'm been a bit pessimistic on this stream. I don't know if you've noticed that, but yeah. I just worry about a run coming up, man. Like I'm gassed about today. I'm really happy we won, but I want to see that second half from the start in these games coming up because we've got the talent to do it on the pitch. We have it, and it's just about the mentality. I guess the one saving grace is the one time we did play a really good team this season was probably our best game against Liverpool. So. Let's hope going forward that continues in these games and we really show our quality because there's a lot there. It's just getting that out. And I think having the 1 week of training is like, I don't want to see these average, hard in different things. Like I don't want to see us have to make a reactionary change because one player has been so bad and you picked him and you know what I mean? And so it's, yeah, but I'll go with 7 for today, but I understand people will want to go higher. But for me, overall, the performance just over 90 minutes, I know we scored 40. It was still a lot left to be desired, in my opinion. But yeah, maybe that's just me.
Fair enough. I mean, we agree on Potter's rating, so can't be too different. Patrick, would you agree with a 7 for the manager too, or do you think your Warren's maybe a little bit higher than that?
Well, I'm stuck in 2 minds because in a sense, he makes the mistake, I think you could say, if we're saying it's a mistake, starting Brozier because the press wasn't that good. But in a way, he still resurrects it by making the sub, seeing something's wrong. And I think the fact that we were that much better in the second half, I think it still warrants some, a positive rating. But I think I'd give him a 7 as well. Starting that poorly off, not defensively, almost being in shape. I think what was a mistake, but I think we were so strong in the second half, mostly because of, whatever he said at halftime, his sub as well. I think it was, from the get-go, I think, what was it? The 48th minute, perhaps, we get the pen. Yeah. Even though it was through a bit of individual brilliance, I still felt that we were, growing into the game those 2 or 3 minutes beforehand. So I think he deserves plaudits for changing something quickly and, making us better. But starting off that poorly, I agree with most of Pius's points as well. I would give him a 7.
Fair dues. And now, in all this drama of us giving player ratings here, I forgot the bloody start of the sprint race. Why is there a safety call all of a sudden? How are Ferrari 3rd and 4th? We started 6th and 7th. What has happened? Anyway, we move on from that. At the end of the day, we're going to international break. 3 wins in a row for the first time. When was the I'm not sure if any of you have read this stat anywhere. When was the last time we won 3 games in a row? Because
March.
Did we?
Leicester, Leeds, and Dortmund.
Fair play. And was that just your knowledge, or did you hear that somewhere? Knowledge. See, Bertrand with the knowledge. Love it. There you go. Why is that stupid apps? You know when apps like don't go like... Anyway, piss me off. Regan Alves, 3 wins in a row. Going international break, 4 goals. As much as I kind of agree with what Pice is getting at in terms of it could have been better and, you know, certain issues and stuff like that. Hey, I'm not going to complain with 4 goals. And, you know, with everything that's happened this season, the past season, yeah, I'm not going to be too critical. I'm like, I'm used to 2 bad halves. We only had 1 bad half and scored 3 goals in the other one. So I'm not going to complain too hard. I'm pretty happy with this. Good vibes going into international break should put us into a good position. And hopefully we can carry things on after the break and, you know, go into this difficult run of fixtures and get a few results and points that maybe people don't expect. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you all very, very much. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Oh yeah, I've closed it already now. But you guys in the poll in the chat have picked a 6.5 for Levi Colwell rather than a 6. So thank you for getting involved in that. And like I say, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Hit that like button on your way out. That would be massively appreciated. Please do check out Pice's website, londonsfirst.com. Link is down in the description, as well as his Twitter. And, of course, check out Bertram as well. Won it twice on Twitter. And, of course, check out my socials as well. Link it down in the description below. But, yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea. Upwards and onwards. And we'll see you next time.